Over on Purple Insider, a new Vikings history video is out about the time that Bud Grant, during a game against the Detroit Lions, only showed up to the game 5 minutes before kickoff. Click the card in the upper right corner to watch. And now, on with our feature presentation. October 13th, 1985. We're down at Tampa Stadium for this battle in the NFC between the Los Angeles Rams and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. On paper, this was going to be the mismatch of the season, as entering Week 6, these two teams were heading in polar opposite directions. On one hand, you had the Los Angeles Rams, who were 5-0 and were one of just two undefeated teams in all of football, alongside the Chicago Bears. You had a team that had the best defense in football at the time, allowing just 62 points, or a mere 12.4 points per game, and a team with all the momentum in the world on their side. And on the other hand, you had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who were everything that the Rams were not. Because whereas the Rams were one of the best teams in football, the Buccaneers were not. Not at all. Instead, the Bucs were 0-5, sitting alongside the Atlanta Falcons and the Buffalo Bills as the only winless teams in football. They had an abysmal offense that was in the bottom 5 of the league by scoring just 85 points, or 17 points per game. They had an atrocious defense that had given up 146 points, or just under 30 points per game, which ranked as the 4th worst defense in football. And they had a point differential of -61, which was the 3rd worst in football, although it was the best of the winless teams. So at least they had that going for them. Especially considering the fact that this team was a turnover machine, having turned the ball over 17 times through 5 games, it's no surprise that the Bucs entered this one as one of the worst teams in football, with their season already over, seeing as no team had ever started 0-4 and made the playoffs, let alone 0-5. And no one on God's green earth was giving the Bucs a chance to win this game. I mean, why would they? It's a winless team that can't do anything right, going up against an undefeated team that looked like one of the best teams in football. However, to the shock of everyone, on a hot day at Tampa Stadium, the Bucs actually came to play. Despite being underdogs, and the odds seemingly being stacked against them on paper, late in the 4th quarter, they actually found themselves up by a score of 27-24, thanks to a 13-yard touchdown pass by Steve DeBerg to Gerald Carter. I know, I can't believe it myself either. Thanks to a strong defensive line that recorded 7 sacks, an extremely disciplined performance where they committed just 1 penalty for 5 yards, compared to 11 for 94 yards by the Rams, and a great defensive outing where they forced 4 turnovers, the Bucs found themselves just moments away from winning the game, and somehow picking up their first win of the season in shocking fashion against an undefeated Rams team. All they had to do was not make any mistakes the rest of the way, and they were good. Just play smart football, and don't do anything stupid, and you're actually going to win the game.
Plenty of time. Throws. Intercepted by Leroy Irvin. Irvin at the 20. He has a good chance to score, and he does.
Well, that sucks. Of course, Steve DeBerg had to do that, and go and throw his second pick six of the game to give the Rams a 31-27 lead. This is not good, but hey, there's still plenty of time left following a failed drive by the Bucs and a failed drive by the Rams. Sure, it was not ideal, but you have the ball at your own 5-yard line with 2 timeouts right before the 2-minute warning. It's a tall order, but if you can somehow drive 95 yards down the field, you're walking away from this one victorious. First down, and the pass gets tipped at the line of scrimmage by the Rams. Incomplete pass. Second down following an offside penalty, and DeBerg fires a curl route that falls incomplete. Seems to be a common theme for DeBerg this game, not being able to throw completed passes, seeing as he finished the day going 14 for 34, but whatever. Third down past the 2-minute warning, and as DeBerg fires the out route to Kevin House, sure enough, that pass falls incomplete. At this point, you've got 4th and 5. You absolutely have to go for it here, seeing as you only have 2 timeouts, and seeing as there's a high probability that you will not get the ball back if you get rid of it. So let's see what brilliant play head coach Liam Bennett has lined up here.
Jim,
And
what
they're
is
gonna punt.
happening?
Frank Garcia is coming in to punt.
I am shocked.
Wait. They're actually punting the football? But why? Why are you punting the football? Why are you punting the football?
The Buccaneers looking for a great punt from Garcia. Good high punt. Johnny Johnson with a fair catch call, and he does at the 42-yard line. And that's where the Rams will take over 1st and 10 with 1:45 left to go in our ball game. The Buccaneer fans not happy about that at all.
Well, that was stupid. I'm sure this won't come back to bite him in any way whatsoever, right?
The handoff goes to Kane up the middle, and this is going to be the strategy for the Rams right now. You can believe that as the Buccaneers call timeout. 2nd and 1. It's Lynn Kane again. Kane spins out of a tackle and picks up enough yardage for the 1st down.
Welcome to Dumb Decisions. Before I break down what happened here, this whole series is about taking an in-depth look at decisions made during games that were clearly awful from the start. This isn't something to look bad in hindsight. Rather, this is something to look awful almost immediately. These are moves where your gut instinct tells you right away that there is no way this can possibly work. And sure enough, your gut instinct was smarter than that of an NFL head coach. And for this one, we're taking a look at the mind of Tampa Bay Buccaneers head coach Liam Bennett. There were certain guys that were pretty solid head coaches in their first stint, and then did just as well, if not better, when they took over their second team. Andy Reid comes to mind, as do guys like Don Coryell, Tom Coughlin, Tony Dungy, George Allen, and Bill Parcells. And then there were some coaches that might have been good the first time, but once they joined their second team, they were completely inept. These are your guys like Hank Stram, George Seifert, Mike Ditka, Lovie Smith, and Ken Wisenhunt. And Liam Bennett absolutely fits into that mold. As Atlanta's head coach in the late 70s and early 80s, he was fine. He guided that team to the most success that they ever had in franchise history at that point. And I talked about his coaching in a previous video of mine, which you can learn more about by clicking the card in the upper right corner. But down in Tampa, holy cow, he was awful. Just terrible, as he could not be a quality successor whatsoever to John McKay. In his 2 seasons with the Bucs, Tampa Bay had the worst record in football both years, and went 2-14 both times, meaning that Bennett's winning percentage was an abysmal 12.5%. You ask people today who the worst head coach in Bucs history was, and odds are they're saying it was Liam Bennett. And plays like this are entirely emblematic as to why he was so bad. So with all that being said, let's take a look at why punting the ball on 4th and 5 late in the game when you don't have all of your timeouts and you're trailing is a really bad idea. As always, I like to take a look at the pros and cons of each scenario. And in this case, the Bucs had 2 options. Go for it, which is what I, along with a color commentator, along with every fan in the stadium, and along with every fan within a 1,000-mile radius of Tampa Stadium, would have done. Or punt the ball, which Liam Bennett and Liam Bennett alone insisted was the right call. So let's take a look at what happens if you go for it. If you convert it, that's awesome. You keep the drive alive, you give yourself a fresh set of downs, and you give yourself a chance to win the game. If you don't convert it, well, that stinks, obviously. However, this is still not the worst case scenario, because here's the beauty of it all. Because of how far back you are guaranteed, no matter what, to touch the ball last, assuming you don't do something stupid like call a play on 4th and 5 that is short of the line. We're assuming that if you call a play on 4th and 5 of the 10, it's going to be a passing play past the sticks, meaning that you're either going to convert it, or you're not because it fell incomplete, or because you got sacked. You're not going to be stopped at the 11 or the 12 or the 13 or anything like that. Now it's up to your defense to make a stop. You've got 2 timeouts. If you get the stop and force the field goal, you're getting the ball back with 1 minute left in a 1-possession game. Sure, a touchdown doesn't win the game. Instead, it now merely ties it. But that's fine, because your odds of scoring likely increased because you have a chance to get some good yardage on the kickoff return. and you won't be pinned deep in your own territory. Plus, you get a fresh set of downs. And if your defense doesn't get the stop, well, that stinks, and you're down by 10. However, because of where you are on the field, because the Rams would be starting in a goal-to-go situation, there is no way, there is no scenario that they can get a first down and run the clock out that way, which means you are getting the ball back no matter what. At that point, down by 10, a miracle would have to happen consisting of a touchdown, an onside kick, and another score. But at least your odds of winning are not 0%. By going for it, you either keep the drive alive, or you ensure that you're going to touch the ball last and give yourself a chance to score again. Now let's compare that to the alternative, which is what Bennett decided to do. And that was to punt the ball away, confusing everyone with the brain. The worst case scenario is obvious. The Rams pick up a first down, and because you don't have the requisite timeouts left, that's the end of the game. The Rams can just take a knee and get out of here with a win. As for the best case scenario, let's say you do get the stop. The Rams with 145 run it 3 times. Let's assume each running play takes 5 seconds, just for argument's sake. The first down play gets you to 140, where you call a timeout. The second down play gets you to 135, where you call a timeout. The third down play gets you to 130, where you don't have any timeouts left, so the Rams just run the clock down to 50 seconds. However, remember that the Rams are punting near midfield, so in all likelihood, when you get the ball back, you're going to be in the exact same spot that you were in before on your last drive. The only difference is that this time, you've got 40 seconds left and no timeouts. And again, that is the absolute best case scenario, that you get the ball with 40 seconds left and no timeouts needing to go at least 80 yards to win it. The more likely scenario is the worst case scenario, where the Rams run out the clock and win the game, and you never get a chance to touch the ball again. So let me get this straight, Coach Bennett. You are faced with 2 options here. Option 1, in the best case scenario, gives you the ball with plenty of time and 2 timeouts. And in the worst case scenario, ensures that you're touching the ball last with a chance to answer, and ensures that the Rams can't run out the clock. Option 2, in the best case scenario, gives you the ball on roughly the exact same yard line, but with 1 less minute on the clock and no timeouts. And in the worst case scenario, ensures that you can't possibly win the game, and won't touch the ball again. And you chose option 2? You freaking chose option 2? Instead of trusting your offense to pick up 5 yards on 1 play and going from there, you trusted your defense to stop a lethal ground game, and then trusted your offense to pick up 80 or 85 or 90 yards in 40 seconds with no timeouts? How does that make any sense? Why in the world did you play those odds? And if it's a matter of not trusting your quarterback and not trusting Steve DeBerg, not that this would make any sense for those aforementioned reasons, but still, if that was the issue, you had Steve Young on the bench. You easily could have gone to him instead of doing this and literally punting the game away for no reason. Which raises the question, why did Leeman Bennett do this? What was his logical explanation, if you can even call it that, for punting the ball here on 4th and 5 in a 4-point game, where a first down for the Rams ends it, and they can't get that first down and officially put the game on ice if you go for it no matter the outcome? Well, get ready for this. Because Bennett said after the game, I gave some thought to going for it, but with 2 timeouts left, I thought we'd be better off to go ahead and punt. How does that make any sense? Seriously, with 3 timeouts left, I get it. Trust me, with 3 timeouts, I'm not opposed to this at all. But with 2 timeouts left, the Rams are guaranteed to take a minute off the clock, so you're still not going to have enough time to do anything of note. If your quarterback is struggling, wouldn't it make more sense to have those timeouts so you don't have to hurry up on the offensive side versus having to burn them on defense because you can't manage a clock? No wonder Leeman Bennett was such a bad head coach with Tampa. So what do we learn from all this? If the best case scenario and the worst case scenario are both better options in one option than the best case scenario and the worst case scenario in the other option, then take the first option. If you have a situation where you can ensure without any shadow of a doubt that you will be touching the ball last, then take the first option. Punting the ball back to the opposition when they can either get the first down and end it, or they can bleed virtually the entire clock and pin you in the same exact spot that you were in before, doesn't make any sense. And if your two options for winning the game are to pick up a mere 5 yards and then have time plus timeouts to work with, or to get a stop on a great running offense and then throw up a few prayers and hope for the best, and you choose the second option thinking that this gives you the better chance to win, then you are completely unfit to be a head coach. Because when all of these elements are in play, you can't exactly be surprised when this play backfires. Talk about a dumb decision. Get your official Jaguar Gear 9 merchandise by going to jj9shop.com, and be sure to like and subscribe, as it really helps the channel out a lot. Join me every Wednesday night where we'll play NFL Trivia for cash prizes at 9 p.m. Eastern over on Twitch. To learn more about the history of college football, subscribe to Jaguar Gator 8. To learn more about the history of Major League Baseball, subscribe to Jaguar Gator 7. Also, special thanks to all of our Patreon supporters for helping out the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. See how you can become a patron and request future video topics in the description below.